Hello and welcome once again to DestinationNewry TV and our coverage of the Down G.A.A. Football Championships. We are now at semi-final stage of the Morgan Fuels Senior Football Championship and the Parador Lodge Intermediate and Junior competitions. And tonight we will be discussing how those teams left standing got here and their semi-final prospects this coming weekend. My name is Jarlath and I am once again joined this week by Paul Rooney and Patsy Russell. Hello, gents.
Hello, Jarlath. Glad to be here.
Good evening, Jarlath.
All right, lads. We'll get straight into it. Last weekend, we had another number of teams bite the dust. Plenty of controversy, plenty of incidents. A lot of the stuff that we've seen for the first time and was viewed far and wide. So, general thoughts before we get into it. Anything you just want to get off your chest just before we get into the individual games?
Just general thoughts, Jarlath.
Well,
I myself, Jarlath, I'm enjoying every minute of it. That's the truth. It's the best championship in Down this year, as far as I can see. Everything about it is all new to us. I don't know whether the players haven't had much training or the life's not trained out of them, but I tell you another thing, Jarlath, we're enjoying seeing new players. And as I said to you last week on the show, we were looking forward to a Super Sunday. We had another Super Sunday, Jarlath. So we're hoping to digest it all and they cut it into bits here as we go along. But I think the view of everybody out there is all the same. We're enjoying every minute of it, Jarlath.
Okay, thanks for that, Paul. Patsy, just give us a few words there before we get into the individual games.
Yeah, Paul's right there. To me, it's been the best Down championships in years, and a lot of people at home are getting to see it, Jarlath. And I think first and foremost, I would have to congratulate all the different coaches and managers of the teams for playing the attractive open football that has been served up to us. The defensive shackles have been literally taken off. Not for good, but they've been taken off by most teams, and some of the football we've seen over the weekend was top class.
Okay, Patsy, well, let's get right into it, and as usual, we're going to start with the results from last weekend and the Senior Football Championship. Now, first game up was Ballyholland and Loughin Island, and I went back just a few days ago, just looked over the comments from last week's show. It's not something I normally do. But boys, we've upset Patsy Kearney big time, right?
But I haven't upset him, Jarlath.
No, Paul, you're all right. But Patsy,
no, I haven't upset him.
You and me are in his crosshairs. That's all I can tell you, right? But listen,
yeah, well,
all joking aside, that game did go to extra time. Ballyholland prevailed. Paul, you called it right. 1-14 to Loughin Island, 0-16. Paul Rooney, just give us your take on it.
I just brief on it. I wasn't at it. Patsy covered this one, but I called it. I thought Ballyholland would be just that wee bit more in them. You know what I mean? It went to the wire, Jarlath, and it could have went either way from what I'm hearing. And Loughin Island had chances to draw it. And from what I'm hearing about it now, and I hear plenty of stuff from all around the grounds, and the Ballyholland ones, as you say, they're saying this show is terrible. We couldn't tip the back of a bus, but I got it anyhow. But I heard through the context, I heard that a couple of the main men that we never really mentioned them before was the two Campbells. I heard they had super games. I'm also hearing that we introduced him to football, Jarlath, a few weeks ago, if you remember. A young man by the name of, from Ballyholland, what's this they call him? He come on as a sub for them. I'm looking for his name here.
John McGovern.
Not John McGovern, the other wee man, Jack Murder. Jack Moore, did he come on as well, Patsy?
Yeah.
I'm here. We introduced him to the
No,
show,
he's
Jarlath,
started.
a few weeks ago, right? And now he's 5 or 6 games later, they're double marking him, Jarlath. So there must be something about this lad. You know what I mean? I heard Shamey Loughlin scored a point at the end. I'm sure Patsy will give us the full details, but I'm delighted for Ballyholden. I'm looking forward to seeing them in the semi-final, and we'll discuss all that later on, Jarlath. But Patsy will have more in that game than I would have.
All right, Patsy, take her away. Yeah, that's one of the first games of the weekend you were broadcasting on.
Yeah, it's just went out the day there this morning, Paul. So it was a deferred match, and there was problems getting it up onto the site. But it was a clinking match. It could have went either way, as Paul says, and we were just maybe, I don't know, maybe a minute away from penalty kicks. I thought it was actually going to go to penalty kicks. Loughlin, we had the best start in the first quarter. They were 5-3 up. Then Ballyholden had a wee bit of a purple patch. It was 7-5. They had Robbie White playing as a sweeper, and it worked a treat for Ballyholden, has to be said. He covered some ground, and Robbie, as you know, 5 years ago was the Down Footballer of the Year, and he's a class act. Ballyholden built a lot of their game around Robbie. He launched many attacks. But as it was 7-5 to the Harps at half time, and possibly deservedly so. They edged it, and then the third quarter they were actually 11-7 up, Jarlath, and looked at that stage as if the game was over. But Loughlin, inspired by Rory Mason, who kicked 8 points in total, actually got them back and got the equalising score to leave it 12 apiece. But Ballyholden had introduced John McGovern as a second half sub, and minutes into extra time, he scored a peach of a goal. Great build-up play from Mark Walsh, who had another brilliant game for Ballyholden. But Loughlin stuck with them, and as I say, they got it level with 3 minutes to go. And then Ballyholden got a free, and who pops up? Only Seamus Loughlin to kick the winner. Now, there was a few chances for Loughlin. There were maybe half chances near the end to tie the game up, but it was a cracking match. As Paul touched on there, I have to mention a few players here. Rory Campbell, a fullback for Ballyholden. Billy Campbell, I'm sure they're related. Paul Murphy. Mark Walsh, especially in the second half, was touched on. Robbie White was brilliant. And up front, you had Jamie Rice, Tiernan Rush, young Jack Murdoch put in a good shift in the first half. For Loughlin, Sean Cochran in defence, Don Gordon, Johnny Flynn, right midfield, and up front, Aaron McClemens and Paddy McKenny. But a tough for either team to lose that game, and unfortunately, Loughlin lost it. But you have to give the Harps credit, a 1 point victory, and they'll fancy their chances now in the semi-final, Jarlath.
Well, Patsy, listen, that goes without saying, and shows a lot of excitement up there at the top of Courtney Hill. And I suppose, I mean, maybe they've crept up on us, because they certainly weren't in our discussions 3 or 4 weeks ago.
No,
as being potential
finalists.
So fair play to them, yeah.
Yeah, they probably weren't. They beat Dara, Longstone, and now Loughlin. And we talked on it last week. You have to remember, Jarlath, this Ballyholden side were in the Morganfield semi-final last year, where they suffered a heavy defeat to Warrenpoint. And I suppose that was on their minds last Saturday. And they're back now in the semi-final. And as I say, if Ballyholden carried up, 2 small clubs, a chance for them to reach their first ever senior final in the history of both clubs. So, that's going to be a cracking game, Jarlath, So,
Okay.
as I say,
Just before we leave that one, Jarlath, I was Justy Lynch involved in the management there in Ballyholden. And I was at his house last Saturday morning, believe it or not. However, I ended up there, but that man there last Saturday had the quarter-final of a championship. His wife's sister was getting married. The wife was in the wedding. He was running till the wedding, that man. I think the wedding was at 12 o'clock. He was back into Newcastle for the match. He was supposed to be back to the wedding. He was dragged into extra time. So you can imagine the pressure in that house. That day, Jarlath. And it's good to see it too. You know, it's good for Justy, and I think young McCrink's at the helm there too. It's good to see them. They'll relish getting into Newry. I'm looking forward to seeing them, Jarlath.
Oh, Paul, listen, I think you're singing the praises there, Justy Lynch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Justy's. He had a brave, heavy day last Saturday. I can tell you, Annie Jarlath. That's all I know.
Well, I interviewed Justin after the game, Jarlath, and he said it could have went either way, and you can actually see it now. It's up on Park TV as from the day. There was a bit of a skirmish. We can't forget about that. There was a bit of a skirmish at the end, and or a few minutes before the end. And basically, the ball was through outside, and it wouldn't be thrown back in again. So you can watch that on Park TV if you want, Jarlath. But as I say, other than that, it was a brilliant game of football. Two very committed sides, very fit sides. Some good hard hits and fair hits went in the game, and it to and fro. But credit to both teams and credit to both managers for letting them play. Jody Gormley and Justin Lynch for playing such open football.
Fair enough, Patsy. Listen, we'll move on. Kilcoo 217, Rostraver 211. Paul, I seen you there. Yeah. You were on the camera.
I was.
Not sure.
I was indeed, Jarlath, and I tell you what, I called it great, and I'm not going to go at you because you're a Rostraver man. We were out before you, but like Kilcoo chewed them, as far as I'm concerned, right? And I don't know if everybody's of the same opinion, but they chewed them up, Jarlath. And like I've seen Kilcoo 3 or 4 times. We discussed the Warrenpoint debacle.
Hold on a wee second here, Paul Rooney. Hold on. I'm not going to allow you to have a go at my home club here.
Well let me finish off, and then you can come back.
He's having a go. He's having a go.
Let me finish off.
There you are. You didn't know that was coming.
I was ready here. I was on the same.
Right, go ahead.
I don't know whether you could describe it or not, but the Kilcoo players played with a smile on their face, Jarlath. I mean that they played. Do you see Kilcoo when they're in form? They knocked over 217, right? I said it in this show, and I said it, and I keep saying, let them at it, Jarlath. They're some team. They knocked over 217 for fun. They played with a smile on their face. What I also like about them, right? There's none of them backs, there's none of them forwards. They're all backs and they're all forwards and they're all midfielders, even the goalkeeper. And I was watching them close quarters and they're all demanding the ball, Jarlath. And see when they're in that type of form, no harm to Rostraver, no harm to anybody that's in the division. They take anybody, I'm telling you. And like, they played with freedom. I could see it in their faces, and there was never really much pressure on them. I know there's only 4 or 5 points in it, but my take on it, Jarlath, they're a wounded animal, and I tell you what, they come back with a real vengeance in that game. And Rostraver, fair play to them. They kept them alive. They kept them in it. But I think if it had been on, Jarlath, 217, it would have been a lot more if it had been a few minutes in it. But in saying that now, it's the first time I seen the Kilcoo that we talked about the variables and this, the variables and that, and they forgot about the variables. They played football. They're a brilliant side to watch. I think Paul Devlin got 1, 3 or 4. Jerome Johnson 1, 2, or they've Sheelan Johnson. I'm telling you, they have firepower all over the place. Greenan scored. The goalkeeper scored. That's what I'm trying to say. Eugene Brannigan scored. They're all forwards and they're all defenders and they all cover each other so well, Jarlath. And you see when they're playing like a team like that, I tell you what, they're going to be hard to stop in this year's championship. And they actually were a joy to watch, Jarlath. And I'm saying that with my hand on my heart. They're a good team if you let them at it. I hope Conor Gilligan's listening to me now and he takes me at my word and lets them at it in the semi-final, because I think they're the sort of a team, if you let them at it, score what you want, they'll score more than you, Jarlath. I think
well, you see,
that's that feeling about them.
I'll tell you what, I actually was sitting in the stand and I was thinking on Sunday. If Kilcoo get inside the anything inside the 45 on either side of the field is within their range or within their scoring zone. And they're the one team, and I think that's what distinguishes them from every other team in the county. You expect something to happen anywhere within that zone, and they have multiple men that can step up till take it off the ground or take it out of the hands, and the accuracy is unbelievable. You touched on it there a few minutes ago. A wounded animal, and they are coming, and they are building momentum and building as the weeks go by. And I can tell you now, even their detractors, Paul, would have to admire some of the football that they play.
Before I let off on this one, and I'll say this, Jarlath, I can guarantee you this, and any one of them can come back to me and contradict me if I'm wrong. I'd say every single one of them enjoyed that on Sunday. They all loved every minute of it, and I'd say they left Park Esther with a grin on the side of their face, if they're being honest.
Okay, right. Well, we'll move to you, Patsy. So that was a 217 to 211 win for Kilcoo. What was your take on it, Patsy?
Well, I had the honour of commentating on that game, and I slightly disagree with Paul here. I didn't think Rostrevor did get a tanking. Fair enough, there was 6 points in it, and probably Kilcoo were going to win the game, you know, at the outset. But I have to say, I have to give Rostrevor credit here, Jarlath, and in particular, you have to remember the very first attack of the game, Keelan Rooney could have put it in the onion bag, as I say, and you never know what way it went. But Paul's right, Kilcoo are what I would call a real lean machine. I seen them, I was in the ground maybe an hour and a half before the game started, Jarlath. Seen them coming in. They're very professional, the way they go about their business pre-match. They have their table, they get their rubs on, they get through all their rituals. Every man is told his job. If there's such a thing as a professional team in Gaelic football and down, I'd say Kilcoo are one of them. But getting back to the game itself, Paul said about Paul Devlin there. Paul actually hit 1-6 and he got four points from play. And a lot of people are maybe saying, Paul Devlin's over the hill. I'm telling you, Paul Devlin is over no hill, Jarlath. I told you, I think I mentioned a commentary last Sunday about a player to take a penalty or take a free for put my life on Paul Devlin. So, as I say, Jerome had another great game. Young Sheelan, Paul Green in the middle of the park. And you have 6 defenders, Ryan McAvoy, the Branigans, you know, they're just that, they've got it all, you know what I mean? But I have to give a few of the Trevor players credit. Young Argyle McMahon, the magnificent goal, Jarlath. He run 50, 60 yards to score that goal. And I'm sure you were very proud for Trevor, man, and seen that. You know, Jarlath Byrne tried hard. Sean Parr scored 2 of the best points I've seen scored in Park Esther for a long time. One with the left foot, one with the right foot. And Conor Doyle all tried hard. Fair enough, they were beat the 6 points in the end. But they weren't disgraced. No, there's no Pete McGrath team gets disgraced in championship football, and Rostrevor won't, and they're young enough, and they'll be back, Jarlath. But getting back to Kilcoo, it's going to take we'll talk about it later, it's going to take a mighty, mighty performance for anybody to beat Kilcoo.
And just before we leave it, Jarlath, I got to mention one man, I need to mention him. Conor Lavery had a brilliant, one of the best games of football I seen that day that lad had in a long many day, and I have to mention it. He was phenomenal. He was everywhere. He's still loads of football in him, Jarlath. Great player.
Okay, Paul. Right, we'll move on. The second game then on the Super Sunday was C.P.N, Warrenpoint and Clonduff. C.P.N pulled it out at the end. It had to go to the extraordinary spectacle of penalties. So in after extra time it was 20 points to 3-11, and it ended up 4-2 on penalties. Now, Patsy, I don't think you were commentating. No, John Fagan was commentating on that one. Were you at it, or did you watch it? I'm assuming either or.
I watched it at home, and you know, when you scored 3 goals, Jarlath, in the first half, you shouldn't really lose the game. And you know, I don't know what happened Clonduff in the second half. They only scored 3 points in normal time. But I'll tell you the difference which turned the game completely around for Warrenpoint was the introduction of John Boyle. And once John came onto the field of play, you could see the confidence starting to ooze out of the rest of the Warrenpoint players. And as I say, he's a magnificent footballer. He was interviewed after with Shauna, and you know, he said, you know, he talked about the game in general. He said it was a tough one, Clonduff, to go out and penalty kicks. And as I say, it takes two teams to make a match. That Clonduff team in the first half, they cut the Warrenpoint defence to shreds. 3 goals. Warrenpoint were 3-0 up here, you have to remember. And as I say, Clonduff hit them 3 goals, but they're only 5 points up at the break. And as I say, once John was introduced, Jarlath, and then John actually kicked, which everybody thought was a winning point, only for Arthur McConville to step up and score a wonder point near the end to send it to the spot kicks. Spot kicks are a lottery, as we all know. It's the first time we've seen it in down football. So there's a quiz question. Who was the first player to take a penalty in a penalty shootout? Young Ryan McAleenan and young Neil Trainer actually saved it, Jarlath. So I thought it was going to be Clonduff's night. But you have to remember then, Warrenpoint, a few soccer players among them, John Boyle, Alan Davidson, and yet the bold Ross McGarry. Some excellent spot kicks, it has to be said. Very tough in Clonduff. But I tell you what, Clonduff had a good year, and the Paddy Tally was probably watching that game. There's 2 lads in particular, Ross Carr and young Tom Close, to me, that had magnificent championships. I thought Paddy Bronigan had a peach of a game, and up front, the experienced man again, Arthur McConville. There's no better forward when Arthur was in song, and I think if Clonduff had got a bit more ball into him, Arthur would have done more damage. That's to be honest with you, Jarlath. But I was a bit disappointed in Warrenpoint, even though they won the game. They'll probably tell you they didn't play that well. They rely a lot on Ross. Ross got 9 points there. Donach McAleenan 3 and Rory McCormick 2. So there's 14 points from them 3 players. And as you know, Ross, great free taker and all. But I think if Warrenpoint are going to have any chance of getting to a coup, more of their forwards are going to have to be on the scoreboard and not relying on Ross. Ross scored 111 in last year's final. But as I say, there was an excellent viewing on Park TV, and it was a great game. But it's a pity it had to be settled on penalties. But that's the rules, Jarlath. All the clubs knew the rules at the start of the competition. So well done, Warrenpoint. Hard luck, Clonduff.
All right, Paul. Briefly, what have you to say?
I was at it, Jarlath, and I was on the goal line camera again, and I picked the wrong goals this time. I'm usually brave and handy at picking the goals. I picked the wrong ones. As Patsy calls them, the shooting goals down the bottom side. But my take on it, Jarlath, is slightly different to Patsy's again. Clonduff, I have a nephew there, 3 nephews playing with him, and young Ross was tweeting last night that 3 days after, and he's still raw, 4 big matches and all this year. But Clonduff found the key to unlocking Warrenpoint, Jarlath, and they unlocked them and they picked them to pieces in the first half. And for whatever reason, and I'm going to have to, ask the management or whatever reason, the exact same thing they done against Brentford. They stopped using that key. They stopped banging her in the big Arthur and them boys. They got 3 goals off in the first half, and then they stopped it. I don't know why, Jarlath. I'd love to interview the manager to ask them that. You know what I mean? Patsy mentioned young Ross. Young Ross was absolutely brilliant. And he had a great game. And if he's not into the down panel, I'll be surprised. You know what I mean? But it shows you the feelings in them too. He's tweeting last night, 3 days after, he's still raw. And, the 4 big matches ahead. But he talked about Arthur and Stephen. Stephen McConville was class too. Arthur was outstanding, so he was. But the thing I would have about it, Jarlath, Warrenpoint were there for the taking. They were there for the taking. Clonduff had them under serious pressure, and then they stopped that tactic. Whatever the thinking is behind that, or whatever, those teams have to go into this retreating thing. Because, see, if they had kept bombing it in, I don't think it would have mattered about your man coming on. What do you call him from the point?
John Boyle.
John Boyle. It wouldn't have mattered, hey, because they kept bombing it in. And then at the end of it all, when I'm out penalty shootouts, it's the same for everybody. Like, I would have no... if I was in a penalty shootout of the same chances the other man, that's the way I look at it. And you take your chances. And they started off lovely. They changed the wee man to just before the injury time. They brought on wee Devlin. God bless the wee man. I felt sorry for him because they brought him on to take a penalty. And what did he do, Jarlath? You know what? He missed the penalty. You know what I mean? I felt awful sorry for the wee man. But again, sometimes Clonduff had a great season, and they should probably be still in there if they had kept doing what they're doing. I found another thing in them, Jarlath. When when the point come back at them, they get a few soft frees good enough now. You know, to bring them back into it. Like, we'll not go into that, but the Clonduff people weren't happy with some of the frees. But anyhow, they failed to do what they done in the first half, and they lost the game. And that's my take on it. And
Paul, right. And
drag it wherever you want, and drag it wherever you want. The penalty shootout, when it's a throw at the full time, a penalty shootouts, every man is in the hut and every man has his chance. It's not unfair, really. Everybody has the same crack of the whip, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes,
but I think they should have had them done before extra time, before full time. They should have had them done.
Well, you see, you've just painted a picture there now of everything that Clonduff done right in the first half, primarily, of that game, and then they took their foot off the gas. But you haven't said anything about the team that prevailed, which was
I'm going to go on to them now.
Warrenpoint. There's many a team would have folded up their tent and went home because
many a team would have right.
And on the receiving end of 3 goals in the first half. So I actually think that shows great character on the part
great character in the two. And John Boyle was absolutely brilliant when he came on. Ross McCarry was brilliant. He missed a fatal free at the end, and he was able to stand up and put the best penalty of the night that was scored. Surely they've battled all over the field, Jarlath, but at this stage of the championship, they've been through a couple of heavy battles. That was a heavy one for them too. Fair play to them. Niall's great man to interview us and all after it, but I have a feeling if Clonduff had kept the hammer on them, Jarlath, and this is my feeling and it's my opinion, they would have been out of the championship. And that's my feeling on it, and that's you'll not be able to take that away from me.
But Paul, the stats tell you that they're not. Warrenpoint are in the semi-final, and Clonduff are gone.
That's right, and
you actually sound to me, I have to tell you now. Don't be go mad at me here. You sound to me like a man that had a few pound in Clonduff.
No way, no. I have a couple of nephews playing with them just on. Look for them. I expected them to get cleaned out, right? Really did.
You're flaking it here now. You're flaking it.
But they have something to look forward to. I enjoyed every minute of it, Jarlath. Enjoyed the penalty shootout. I was on the camera behind the goal, and like every man is in with a chance when no one comes to penalties, and everybody's a fair crack at it. I think they should have had them done before even extra time, and they'll look back on it and they'll say, Rooney could be right, he could be wrong. Another thing I'd say about them, whenever they did come under pressure, they tried too hard to make it hard. You know what I mean? And it wasn't working for them, you know. So that's all I'd say on it. I was right on the sideline again, and I seen the action firsthand, and I think Clonduff let them off the hook.
Well, I'm not sure what point you're making there. You were right on the sideline because you called that game for Clonduff, so you come up short in that one. But just to let you know now, and just in case this slips through somewhere along the line, we had 12 games at the weekend, right? One person called 6 out of 12, one called 7 out of 12, and one called 8 out of 12.
Oh.
Now, hands up who thinks they done 6 out of 12. All right, I'll tell you. Oh, Patsy! Patsy! You're spot on. You're spot on. Patsy, I think you must be keeping notes. Paul Rooney, what do you think you got?
I'd say I get the 8.
You get the 7, my friend.
Right. I'd have done better than last week, and I so did.
I know nothing here, Tinley. Got 8 out of 12.
Fair play to you.
Right, here, listen. Patsy, we're going to move on now. You've not... Paul, you're hogging the camera here this evening. Cahill,
I don't know what happened there at all.
He messed that.
I don't know what happened. I don't... See it now.
Right. The final game of the senior quarter-final, Patsy, was carried off 3-15, Bransford, 0-11. Was that a massive surprise?
Yeah, yes and no. I tell you what, Jarlath, to me, this was one of the most entertaining games of the weekend, and I didn't actually know I was doing it till late Sunday evening. So it was a privilege to do it, and to see this young Carryduff team. Just to let you know, the average age is 22, 23. There's only 2 players, apparently 24 in the panel. So I don't think there's been a younger down team played in the championship quarter-final in a long time. But as I say, Carryduff got off to a brilliant start with Josh Connery finding the net after 40 seconds. But they were leading 1-4 to 4 points when Mark Hines took a brilliant save to deny Patrick Sheridan. And then we had a purple patch again with Carryduff hitting 2 goals, Ryan Beatty and 18-year-old Joe Tunney. So that left them 3-4 to 8 up at the break. And there was no way Brentford were going to come back. You know, they come back against Clonduff, as Paul touched on earlier there. But Carryduff outscored them 10 points to 3 in the second half. And as I say, some of the performances were top drawer for this Carryduff team. And I tell you what, him and Ballyhone will be a cracking match. And their manager, DJ Morgan, spoke to Sean after the match. And, you know, he was completely delighted with them, and rightly so. They just ran and ran. And I think I said near the end of the game, they looked a spit in the last couple of minutes as they did in the first minute of the game. It was brilliant to see, Jarlath, and it's great to see new kids in the block, so to speak. So you have them and Ballyhone, 2 teams that have never reached senior final, I should say, before. And one of them teams is going to be lining out on Park Esler on down Morgan Field's senior championship final day. And as I say, it was a brilliant game. And I don't think I've seen a team play as well for a long time, you know, Jarlath. And you have to take their hat off, and you know. So,
all right, Paul. Yeah, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I was at it again, Jarlath. I was at them all, and just a couple of men I picked out in that game. And wee man, Lorcan Toll, he played number 2 for them. Jarlath, he was brilliant. He was brilliant to watch. I loved everything about him. And number 13, a boy called Rory Anderson. He was in for everything like a terrier. And you know what they done on Bransford? They harried them. They broke them. They broke the ball on them. When they got the ball back, they got it back again. As I said, and I keep saying it on the show all the time, Jarlath, see when a town team gets their tails up. And I know another thing I love about Carryduff. I love this about them. They love scoring goals, Jarlath. And they're a team that if the goal's on, if it's nearly on, or if they think it's on, they'll go for it. They could have had, and not much, and no harm to Stephen and young Brannigan. I don't know where they're going to pick the pieces up from that. Carryduff could have had another 3 or 4 goals, boys. If we're being honest here and truthful, like they had the keeper was out. I don't know what Mark Reid had a nightmare, and like I know Mark well. He was way out the lane. You boy had a chance to chip him one time. He chipped it wide, and they were in on him. I don't know many times they're in on him, Jarlath, for goals. Carryduff, if you let them get their few points on the board and maybe a goal or 2, I tell you what, they're a confidence team. They live with confidence, and the one thing they have is pure stamina. They run all night, Jarlath, and you'll not run them into the ground. You'll have to try something else with them, but if it's down to a running competition or a fitness competition, they'll win it. But see if they get the tails up, they're a hard wee team to deal with. And when you think about it too, like Clonduff hammered them in the early round, the first round, Jarlath. Hammered them, and like they've dug themselves back from there to where they are now, and they were by 10 miles the best team in Park Esther that night. I don't know where Brentford's going to go from where they are. There's some serious, you know, you're going to have to take some serious look at themselves, because at no time did they threaten Carryduff. And my take on it is Carryduff could have 3 or 4 more goals.
Well, you have to say it's good for the neutral too, to see that there's at least going to be one new club goes forward to the final. Patsy, listen, we're stuck for time, so we'll push on if you're all right with that. We'll move on to the intermediate. Dromara's journey has come to an end. Anna Clone 114, Dromara 05. Patsy, you and I backed Dromara. and Paul went with Clone. We had Gary on last week. They had an incredible run, but obviously the Division 4 versus Division 2 was just a bridge too far this time.
Yeah,
I was at it, Jarlath, and I'm doing it.
Hold on, Paul. Let Patsy come in there.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Jarlath. It was a bridge too far for Dromara. Anna Clone's experience. You have to remember, the 2 or 3 boys, the clips that county here, the team Charles, Benny and Gary and you also have forwards like Young McAvoy and Kieran Green in there. As you say, the two didn't possibly told the difference in the end, but they done their damage in the first half on it. They were 8-1 up. Paul was at the game and he'd probably talk about it in a minute or two. But as I said in the programme last week, I seen enough a couple of years ago when Dromara played Sol in an East Down minor final to suggest that they will be one of the up and coming teams. There's some good people, Declan McCann, Anthony McNeil, John McKay, working very hard behind the scenes, and a lot of other good, dedicated club people down there to keep these lads together. Pat Joe Drake, Brent McNeil, Brent McKay, Luke Savage. That's only naming a few of them lads there. Some brilliant footballers, and you just don't become a bad footballer overnight. So I would say no, the suffered defeat. Gary Farrell will be very proud of them lads. Fair enough. There's 2 divisions between them, but tomorrow will be back. You take it from me, Jarlath.
Thanks, Patsy.
Yeah, Jarlath,
Paul,
quickly. I was at it quickly, and it was all over after both the first half. It was all over. Anna Clone's experience won out in the end. That wee lad Savage, as Patsy talked about, he tried hard, Patsy, but nothing would work for the lad. The way it was working for him the week before. It just wouldn't work for him this week. And Anna Clone, I thought the best of them out of them was young Kevin Anderson. And I think the youngest of them, McAvoy's, Patsy, is going to be a super player. There's 3 of them McAvoy's, but the youngest one of them I thought was the better one of them. Anderson had a fair game. They ruled the midfield. The poor wee goalkeeper from Dromara couldn't get it past Gary McArdle or Benny. Benny McArdle played rightly too. They have to give it to them, but it's all over in the first half. And I tell you what, it would freeze you down late in the all night. And I was glad to see the new lights and all late. It was a lovely setup to have there now. And it was, just for partly the reason I went down was to get a look around me as well, Patsy, to see the new setup. But I was expecting more out of Dromara. And disappointed with them, but as you say, it just didn't work for them on the night. They tried everything they could. Balls were dropping short, they were falling wide, and at inspirational times when they needed it didn't work. And Anna Clone run out handy enough winners.
All right, thanks for that, Paul. Paul, I'm going to stay with you because I'm going to talk about Sol and Shamrocks. Shamrocks just come up short there by the bare minimum. Sol holding out 2-11 to 3-7 winners now. That surprised the 3 of us because we all went for Shamrocks in that one. You must be disappointed on a personal level.
Disappointed, but I knew it would have been a cracking game again, and it was a cracking game. And I think any football that Shamrocks have been involved in this year, there's been football played. I'll have to say that. But at the end of the day, Jarlath, there was a sham decision about a point, and a point wasn't given, and I thought it was a point, and the umpire thought it was a point, but the linesman and the referee didn't, and they ruled against it. They lost by a point. The one of the best goals that you'll ever see scored in a game of football was scored in it by young from I forget what you call him from Shamrocks. Damien McKeown, one of the best goals you ever seen. He lobbed the goalkeeper. Shamrocks were at that point went into a 3-7 to 2-7 lead, Jarlath, and there was 20 minutes to go, right? And at that point, Shamrocks had to get 1 point of any shape or form. 1 point, they would have run out, win by 5 or 6 points. And John Fagan's involved down there. And I was talking to John the other day, and he says, if they had to get that 1 point, after they won the goal, they could have run out and won it easy enough. Sol grinded away. They took some to pull back that 3 points, long range scores. Pierce Lavery and a couple of them, they were class. They just showed that wee bit more in them, Jarlath. And I'll admit it, great game. There was a decision, a hairy decision in it. But that's what you get in this championship. We talk about it. It's part of the game. It's why we're on it every week. And Shamrocks will be back. I think there's something serious developing there. I was talking to Marty, the 2 Martys, and Marty says from the last year's team to the team that started the other day had only 5 of the same players. So there's something happening. They had a few boys out injured. Hopefully, they tell me, Jarlath, this is the type of matches they want to be playing in. They're playing in it now, and let me tell you, give them 3 or 4 years, they'll be sniffing on the tails of senior championship teams if they keep the way they're going now. Now, remember, Saul's been on this run. It's 4 or 5 years now they're building. This is probably Shamrock's second year and, going to good football. And I'd say in 4 or 5 years, they could be chewing on the tails of the bigger boys. Hopefully.
Fair enough, Paul. No, fair enough. That's a good enough summary. Patsy, anything you want to add on that one?
Yeah, well, as Paul touched on it there, Saul talked there earlier about tomorrow. I seen Saul, a couple of years ago. There's some great minors, the young Kieran Harney there, Paul said Pierce Lavery, and the Honeys there. There's some great players, and they've Ronan McClarkin there at the helm, brother Gregory's. He's managing them, and as Paul said, John Fagan's assistant in there. They're an up and coming club. They're a very passionate club, it has to be said. They love their Gaelic games out in Saul there. They're just on the edge of Downpatrick there. But I tell you what, as Paul said, Shamrock didn't score for the last 15-20 minutes. They must have been under severe pressure that time. And for Saul to come back, they were level at the short whistle, 2-5 apiece. And I heard someone saying, I wasn't at the game, but I heard someone saying that Damien McKeown goal was something special.
Shamrock's went 6 down early on, Patsy.
Yeah, you have to give
6 down.
Yeah, 2-11 to 3-7. That's a tight one, Jarlath. And tell you what, Saul were pretty confident now getting in the front noise. I'm sure we'll talk about that later on in the show. But credit to the Shamrocks. I seen Shamrocks must be 6 weeks ago now, and there was a lad I seen that night, and I thought he was brilliant, and I don't even think he started. Paul, keep me right, the young fella called Kevin Haggerty couldn't make the start of 15. So
that's right.
They must have a very strong panel. That's all I'm saying. But the two Martys, they'll try and keep them lads together. And as we talked last week, it's great to see a Newry team, coming to the fore again. Bosco and Mitchells are struggling a bit at the moment, but Shamrock seem to be the team that's up and coming here, and you have to give them credit. But as I say, fair play to Saul. We were probably tipping Shamrocks from the outset to win the Harder Lords Intermediate Championship. But as I say, Saul and Leitrim, that's a mouth-watering tie.
Right, fair enough, Patsy. And of course, you said there that we predicted at the beginning Shamrocks wouldn't be far away. That proved not to be the case. Another team we knew wasn't going to be too far away was Leitrim. Now, they are still there because they got over the line, Patsy, against Unraked, 116 to 0-15. Now, just to let you know, Patsy, before you come in there, you went for Unraked in that game. But myself and Paul were a wee bit cooler. We went for Leitrim. So, Patsy, take it away there.
Yeah, well, there was 32 scores in that game, Jarlath. So that speaks volumes. They were level, I think, on 6 occasions. And it wasn't maybe the last 5 or 6 minutes where Leitrim got a goal from Conor McCrickard. And that sort of steered them over the line. But there's some great players. We talked about Conor and Pierce Oak. They got 111, and a young lad called Mark Owens apparently was very impressive, getting 3 points. So there's 3 players got 114 and 116. Leitrim Fontenoy lost this Intermediate Championship 2 years ago against Breda, and they were actually 13 points down in that game, and they came back to 2 points and actually hit the woodwork a couple of times. So that'll be spurring the Fontenoy on here, and just because I didn't tip them last week, probably they were clapping their hands at that, because that seems to spur some teams on and they listen to us in this show. But I was only calling it as I seen it. And Micheál O'Mara gave me a bit of advice one time, Jarlath. He said to me, "Say what you see, not what you would like to see." So that's what I try and do when I'm predicting and commentating, Jarlath. But fair play to the Fontenoy, hard luck to Unraked. But I told you before, Unraked have a great panel there, and I would suggest that they work away at it, because Bernie Rowan, a great coach, and some great young players in Unraked. So fair play to the Fontenoy. They're in the semi-final against Saul, that's a humdinger in store for the viewers or for everyone concerned.
Okay, listen, so we move on then. Drumgath racked up a fairly high score, Paul, against Clonduff. 20 points to 0-7 it finished. Now,
It did.
It's a team that you have been watching all year. So
yeah, I like them. So do I like them.
The win will not come as no surprise to you, but maybe the extent of the win.
No surprise to me, and like fully young fellas, Jarlath again, and like they were in early a couple of times, and Michael McAllister is an ex-down goalkeeper. I'm sure everybody out there would know him. Like they tested him out a couple of times earlier on, he saved them, right, and then they decided to just stick the points over, and they rattled them over left, right, and centre. They have Packy Downey and young McCard in midfield, and they were unbelievable. Hey, I think Mickey's lad and Shea Bourne and Mark Connolly, like we never mentioned them boys in the show yet. Kicking, I think young Shea Bourne, I think he kicked 6 or 7, and Connolly kicked plenty as well. And like they have Shea McConville, fair, decent player, I can tell you, Jarlath. And see on any given day, Drumgath will be hard to deal with, and like they've got the dream draw for the semi-final. It's all in the balls in their court. Like an intermediate final for Drumgath, and would be incredible, Jarlath. And like I'd love to see it. Big Packy Downey's come back strong. I'm glad to see him back to his own club and making his mark. And he was very good the other day. He was very effective, and like he still has a bit to offer. And like he's been about a long time, Jarlath, as we know. He's been in the county panel, he's been in and out, and he's been to Bransford, but he's back at his old club now, flying. Jackie Lynch, they're all. I tried to get somebody on for an interview tonight, but sure, they're all that busy training for this. This big weekend's coming at them faster than they can even think, Jarlath, and they're looking forward to it. I know a couple of the boys out there, and like they have boys like young Parsons as well. Plenty of boys there. Like it gives Untitled plenty to think about, and we'll discuss the Untitled Drumgath thing later on in the show. But Drumgath's there, and they're there in merit, and fair play to them, Jarlath.
Fair enough. Patsy, anything to add there just before we go on to the junior?
No, well, I talked last week about Drumgath. They were beating a whole lot of intermediate finals before they won their first one, Jarlath, and then a couple of years, 2 or 3 years later, they won another one. So they're no stranger to intermediate championship football. And as Paul says, it'd be great to see them in a final once again. There was a couple of players, Colin McCumish and Colin McGinn. Paul didn't mention two cracking footballers as well there. So they have some gifted players, and as you say, Mark Conley, I think Mark captain them the last time that they won it. So they're a very talented outfit, Drumgath, and they were 10-1 up, and then they went early stage of the second half. I think they went 15-1 up. So there was no way back for Clonduff there. So as I say, I think that we all predict Drumgath last week, John.
Yeah, we all went with Drumgath, Patsy, and I'll just stick with you.
You're all copying me now, Jarlath.
We'll go on.
You're all copying me now.
We'll go on to well, Paul, listen.
You're all copying Rooney.
If only that were through, Cahill. If that man's head gets any bigger, he needs a screen of his own. Anyway, We're moving on to the junior championship because the three of us also went with Aughnasnaffin, and they come out on top, 0-15 to Ardglass, 0-9. Paul, no surprises there.
Not really, no surprises, and like I know Jared over there, he puts a lot of time into them, and like they were expecting, they had beat Ardglass already in it, and they'll be looking forward to the next round. They beat them easy enough. Ardglass put up a good enough fight, I suppose. Like they kept it a lot tighter than they did the last time, but I expected that, Jarlath, and like I'll be expecting Aughnasnaffin maybe to do a bit more in this championship than they've done. So as I said, we expected that one, and maybe Patsy knows a wee bit more than I do, but I think he is a nephew or something playing in the Finn there.
Go ahead, Patsy.
Yeah, you're right in what you say, Paul. Ardglass actually they didn't put in too bad of a shift, and in the midway through that first half, they were actually 6-5 up. They had Michael McGee and Stephen Rooney there scoring them on, but the Finn sort of got on top, just got into the short whistle, and they were 8-6 up at half time, and then Donach Steele and Oren Flanagan and nephew were playing midfield, And they got some great ball in there to Shea Crosby and Adam Garn, two very dangerous forwards for Rockness to fin there. So, as I say, they only won with 6 points in the end to fin, but they have a mouth-watering tie coming up with their neighbours now down Drum in the semi-final. Jarlath, that'll be a game well worth seeing. So,
and Patsy, that's the next game actually we're going to talk about. Mitchells didn't really show up on the day. They went down 1-15 Dundrum, 0-5 to Mitchells, and for some peculiar reason, yourself and Paul Rooney thought the Mitchells were going to get over the line on that one.
Yeah, strange enough, Jonathan.
Hold on, go ahead, Patsy.
Oh, sorry, Jarlath. I suppose the John Trainer factor you thought would maybe spur the Newry Mitchells on, but credit to Dundrum, I think they were 9-0 up at half time. They're a side that has won this Pardore Lodge Junior Championship on a number of occasions. And still some of them players, Kieran Walsh is still playing for them. I think he's playing goals. Kieran's been around a long time, and I think he kicked 3 points in that game. But as I say, fair play to Dundrum. Nobody's not really talking that much about them. But they're in the semi-final. And there was good chances, all three sides in that, Jarlath,
Fair enough, Patsy. Paul, we move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Drummond first Kiliff was obviously a wee bit tighter. Drummond came out in the end, 1-11 to 1-9.
It was a tight one. It was a tight one. And it was always going to be a tight one. We said that in the show last week. And they're local rivals too over there. And I tell you what, Kiliff wouldn't be just on the same sort of crest of a wave that Drummond have been on this year. And fair play to them. They put up some fight and they run it right to the wire, Jarlath. There was nobody going out the gate 10 minutes before it was over, saying this is over. Fair play to them, Kiliff. And I tipped them. I know I did tip them. I have a wee soft spot for Kiliff, always had. But I have to give them credit. They wouldn't have been expected to win that. They put up a great show. And Drummond has to be hard to stop in this championship, Jarlath.
Right, fair enough, Paul. Then the final game then, Junior Championship, Patsy. A team that's been racking up some very, very high scores this year in both league and championship. St. Paul's 210, Glasdrumman, the bare minimum, 1 point.
Yeah, I just do not know what has happened at Glasdrumman. I think they've lost a load of players, Jarlath. This Glasdrumman team, Paul, tell us what year it was, but it's not that long that they won a junior championship. I think it's 5 or 6 years ago, Paul, if it is that.
Yeah.
And don't only score 1 point. We talked about him last week in the show. Daniel Eastwood, he hit 2 cracking goals in the first half to send them on their way to victory. And as I say, they're in the semi-final now against Drummond S. That's another cracker. You would just love to be able to go to see all these games, but unfortunately, Jarlath, people can't. It's only really the people from these clubs that can really see these games, and it's a pity. It certainly is. That's a mouth-watering tie. We've talked about St. Paul's, maybe dark horses in this championship, Jarlath. We just wouldn't rule them out, and Drummond S certainly will not be taking them for granted. That's one thing I can assure you of.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'll tell you what we'll do, lads. We'll change it about a wee bit this week, right? Because normally at this stage we would jump back till the senior football predictions for this weekend. Well, we do it in reverse order. Do you just want to go with the junior just when we're on that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
we'll work our way up the page as opposed to working down. So, Paul, Patsy's touched on it there. You mentioned Drummond S yourself. That has the makings of a good game against St. Paul's, but can you see St. Paul's repeating the trick against Drummond S? Well, hold on, Paul, before you come on there, Damien McCullough,
yes,
one of from Armagh TV and good friend of the show, has a question. Hey, Damien.
Here we go.
How's it going?
You're very comfortable looking there, yeah.
I am indeed. Listen, a wee bit of a question. Kilcoo already has played Warrenpoint, and now they meet in the semi-final. Okay?
Yes.
So here's the question. Why did the county board not keep them apart? saying, look, guys, you can't meet because you've already played in the competition. The only place you can meet is in the final. So they should have kept both teams apart in the semi-final and put them in and seed them in the semi-final. I think that would have been a better draw. So
Well,
I don't agree. I don't agree with them having to play a game because Warrenpoint already beat them, and I don't think it's fair. So where do you stand on that one?
well, I'll just give you my tuppence worth on before the two boys come in. But as the former fixture secretary, I can tell you categorically that we don't fix any fixtures, right? Open draw, Damien, open draw, and I mean, what do you do? I mean, like, you know, because let's look at the other side of that. Carry Duff are playing Ballyhold. Neither team has ever contested a senior championship final, right? So there's a fairy tale ending there for one of them teams. Do you know what I mean? So there's pros and cons. Sorry, go ahead.
Listen, I understand that. I'm not saying it's a fix, but what they should have done when they realised that Kilcoo and Warrenpoint were in the semi-finals, they should have made the decision to keep them apart and seed them and put, like, say, right, so you can't meet. So you have to either play Ballyhold or Clonduff, and that solves the problem. To me, looking at it from the outside, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair on Warrenpoint. You have to beat them once, you have to beat them twice, which is fair enough, and if they're good enough, they can do that. But I just think that it's unfair. I think it would have been better to do that. That's just my opinion. And I'll tell you another thing, Jarlath, before I go away here, because Patsy's looking very stern there, and he's sure he's going to come in with something here. Armagh wants to slip to the straight knockout this year. And I can tell you, the games have been brilliant. And I would pay a tenner to watch a knockout game than pay a fiver to go into the round robin competition. You know, and I know COVID had a big say in all this, but going back to the clean knockout in Armagh, it has been a revelation this year. And the county board would have a problem next year going back to the round robin. So that's one question. Another question, and this would maybe affect Paul more to the degree than anybody. I promise Cahill wouldn't ask this or say this. How can an umpire decide a goal is a goal when he's 3 foot behind the goalkeeper, looking at the goalkeeper's back, the goalkeeper's catching the ball on his chest, right? So that's the question. Was it a goal? I don't think referee should have given it.
No, I said it was no goal, but that man has a super duper pair of glasses, Damien. I'm telling you now, he's the best pair of glasses in this country. And that's how he decided that there. So that's all my take on it.
How long are we talking?
He's
come back to the Mayo Bridge game here again.
No, we're not. But on the other thing, you know, he's on about the packing of the semi-final there. It was too cold of a night, Damien, and the balls all got cold before we got the draw done. So we couldn't help it. You know what I mean?
You're spot on, Rooney. Rooney, you're spot on.
I think it would have been good. I think it would have been good if you had just
right.
One,
Patsy,
1, 2, 2.
Patsy, before we lose Damien, come in there and give us your speak on that.
Listen, I have to go here. Somebody's called at the door.
Oh, hold on a wee second now. You start.
Well,
Patsy, go ahead.
Listen,
right.
I'll be back. Yes, I'll be back. Yes, they're doing a great
so
job, by the way.
Jarlath, the semi-final open draw, and I think the system we have in down here is very good. The backdoor system, you know, Kilcoo came through the back door one time as well. You know, when Sure Bourne and that did as well. You know, so I think it's a good system that gives you a second bite of the cherry. But once you get to the semi-final stage, it doesn't matter if you played somebody before or not. It's an open draw, and I'm sure some of our colleagues on the county board would come on and confirm that. That has always been the case. You know what I mean? Once you start to say this one can't play that one, or you know, that leads you into all sorts of arguments and developments. You know what I mean? So I think our system is very good, and I'm sure Paul would agree, and I'm sure you would agree, Jarlath, to say you were involved with the fixture secretary, and I'm sure you were involved with the championship fixtures as well. So I think we have a good system here in Down. I'll tell you what, a lot of the public are very happy with it, I would say.
And I'll add to that, Patsy. The footballers and the management and everybody involved is enjoying every minute of it, and so are we. So we were talking about St. Paul's and Drummond S there before we got rudely interrupted, but we'll go back to that one. And I talked about the Eastwoods from St. Paul's. I've been talking about them from before the very first show, Jarlath. And like them boys have been entitled to maybe getting a sniff at the down team, but we're coming to our protection stage again, and you were sort of writing off St. Paul's there with the way you brought them into me, but I'm not going to write them off, Jarlath, at all, and I'm going to tip them to take this one here and to get into the first or the junior final. It'll not be the first junior final, but I'm going to tip them to take Thrum S and for the shock. Well, it'll not be a shock to me, but I'm going to tip St. Paul's in this one. Patsy will have a different take, I'd say.
Patsy, go ahead.
Yeah, St. Paul's, no doubt, in the semi-final. They were beat last year, but right by a point. We talked about that before. But I think Thrum S would be maybe the too experienced for St. Paul's. You never know. St. Paul's could play out of their skins. They've never won a championship at senior level. I can remember years ago.
We've lost you there, Patsy.
Commentating.
Yeah.
No. Savile. I think Savile. They were probably the next one to win it.
Right, Patsy, you're breaking up badly there. You're going for Drum S. I'll tell you, if you can hear me, give me the thumbs up just to confirm that that's the case. Right,
yeah,
okay.
Drum S.
Well, I'm going with Drum S because I can tell you, if I was to back Paul Rooney now, I'll not be backing too many winners. So I'll be going with Drum S. Now, Patsy, if you're still on the line, Ocklas the Finn, Drum. What way do you see that?
Two neighbouring clubs, Jarlath. I'm gonna go Ocklas the Finn. I think they beat them last year, and I'm gonna stick with Ocklas Finn. But very close game, and that'll draw the 400 maximum crowd without a doubt. It would probably draw a couple of thousand if it was in normal times, Jarlath. So I'm gonna go with a Finn here, and Nara Victory. It might even go to extra time.
Very good, Paul.
I'm going to go with Dundrum. Jarlath. And Patsy mentioned a while ago there, but what do you call your man that's playing for them this year, Patsy?
Kieran Walsh.
Kieran Walsh. Well, that Walsh family in particular, that'd be Seamus, a former chairman. And I seen his daughter. His daughter does physio for Hilltown, so they're heavily involved in G.A.A. You know, that whole family. And fair play to them. And in this one here, Jarlath, I haven't seen much of either team this year. I've seen the Finn. I haven't seen Dundrum. On account of the hiding they give Mitchell, I'm going to tip for Dundrum in this one here. So I'm pitting for us in Paul's Dundrum Junior Final.
Oh, right, very good. Well, I'm inclined to go with Patsy again.
That's class.
Has been Ocklas Finn, Drum and S as far as we're concerned. Right, moving on up the ranks then. There's another big one, Patsy. Anna Clone versus Drumgath.
Ooh.
This is a hard one to call. I think both of them have played in junior final or intermediate finals in the past. Probably the most experienced team is Anna Clone, but the always win out. I'm going to plump for Anna Clone. I didn't plump for them, I think, last week, but I plumped for them this week, Charles.
Okay, Paul.
I'm going to do that. I'm going to do the opposite, Jarlath. I'm going to stay with Drumgath, and I'll just add to this here, Jarlath. And I was on camera that night when they were doing the live draw, and there was I heard of a house full of people in Drumgath were tuned in live to us. You know what I mean? And do you see whenever them balls come out of the hat, one man jumped that high, broke the chandelier. So they've high expectations in Drumgath. And like they're looking forward to it. They're going in there with a confidence boost. And I think there was 20 in watching it in some house. And they got that excited. Your man jumped out of the couch and broke the chandelier with excitement of getting the Anna Clone draw. So as I say again, right, and I'll say it to anybody, all the Drumgath manager should have to do is just hold the Anna Clone jersey in front of them in the dressing room. And to see if that doesn't do it for them, you'll be safer leaving them in the dressing room, Jarlath, because it's going to be a dogfight. It's a local derby. It's going to be all holds barred. Anna Clone will be trying everything in their powers to keep the young fellas at bay. The young fellas will be trying everything to run around the Clone boys, and I think Drumgas could win it before 5 points, Jarlath. There you are. And I'm going to go heavily in favour of Drumgas to get to the intermediate final.
Tell me this here. Do you see them stories there about men jumping out of the armchair?
That's the truth, Jarlath. That's the God's truth.
You know, that's me hauling more hertic stuff there. Where are you getting all these bits and pieces?
That's genuine stuff coming through the grapevine. The show's generating not much crack, Jarlath. That there's people shouting at me all over the place, but that's true. That the house was full. There was 20 men in watching the Monday night, and your boy jumped that high. The chandelier had to be replaced the next day. So Drumgas.
I hope it was a big living room, because we assume there was social distancing being observed.
And here they'll be all taxing into the show now.
Yeah. Well, listen. We're at the business end here now, so the sentimentality goes out the window. So I ain't gonna go on alone for that semi-final. Right now, moving up then, Leitrim versus Saul. Patsy, Saul have been a bit of a surprise package to some, maybe not to Laws. Leitrim, we expected to be there or thereabouts. How do you see this game going?
Yeah, I suppose at the start of this championship, we talked about Leitrim, we talked about Shamrocks, and we talked maybe about Unraked. But Leitrim's still there, and although Saul have made great advances, you have to take your hat off to them. I think Leitrim's experience, been in a final, Jarlath. They were also in a minor final 3 or 4 years ago against Mary's Bourne, and a lot of that team has come through there. So on that form, I'm going to go for Leitrim. But I think Saul will put up a great fight, but I think Leitrim have too much experience for them, and that might just get them over the line. All
right, fair enough, Patsy. I will put your name against Leitrim. Don't know we've lost Paul, or what's the situation. But I'll tell you what we will do. We're going to bring on Don Morgan to give us his insight on Leitrim's season to date and how he sees things going the weekend. Hello, Don.
Hi, how are you? How's the form, Jarlath?
Not too bad, boys. Long time. Good. Long time no work.
Well, we're in different circumstances.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're down to the last 4. Paul Rooney was telling me before we actually get into talk about championship, Paul was telling me he took a trip over last weekend to see the new facilities, and he was singing the praises of the club. So it's onwards and upwards for Leitrim. You had a good win the last day out again on Raked, and you have stalled this weekend. Now, the next voice you're going to hear is Patsy Russell. So, Patsy, talk away to Don there.
Well, Don, first of all, Don, congratulations on your new lighting system. As I say, I haven't seen it yet, but I've heard good reports, and it must have been an honour for you to host that game last Friday evening on Clone and tomorrow. You probably know, Don, I actually tipped on Rake to beat you last week, but this week I'm actually going for you to beat Small. The reason for that is you suffered a 2-point defeat to Breda a couple of years ago in this championship, and you were actually 12-13 points down in that game. Come back to 2 points, and it hit the crossbar the 3 or 4 times in that match. So I think that will spur you on against Saul, Dan, but it'll be a very close affair, Dan.
It sure will. I mean, any team you're going to meet in a semi-final is going to be a tough encounter. So, I mean, hopefully the youth that we have blended in this year will do the job for us. I know we're probably, because we got relegated last year, there was a team building with youth this year, and with a few exceptions of a few older boys coming in there, who the likes of Stevie Higgins, who came on and played at full back, did I thought a tremendous job last Sunday. So with that experience of youth and the more experienced boys, hopefully it'll not be easy. You don't get anything easy at a semi-final stage.
Okay.
Yeah, Dan.
You want to ask?
Yeah, I missed down there. Sorry, I don't know what happened. My lane went dead there for a while. But how are you doing, Dan? I'm glad to see you on the show.
Not too
You're
bad,
very,
Paul. Not
you're
too
very
bad.
welcome. You're very welcome. And I was over there last week and enjoyed viewing your new facilities. Lovely spot over there. New lights are
Yes,
lovely,
yeah.
and you'll be looking forward with trepidation this weekend. The only thing about it is coming thick and fast down, isn't it? It's one of the best championships in Down this year, as we're reckoning here in the show. What do you think?
Well, I would definitely have to agree with you from that point of view, Paul. That it's probably one of the best. Although on the other side, with so many matches coming so quickly, you both haven't time to recover from injuries. And we were unfortunate that in the match against Shamrocks, we lost two boys to two long-term injuries. Two of the players, Darren O'Higgins, who got his jaw broke or fractured in 4 places, and Owen McCrackard, who got a cruciate. He's waiting now to go in for a cruciate operation. And that's a big blow to any team when you lose 2 of your starting 15. But the strength and depth is there this year. We're able to come through again and rake. And I would be hopeful. I would be hopeful now that they'll give a good account of themselves on.
Just before I let you go down, venue wise, is there Newcastle?
We are indeed.
Would you not? Would you? Suppose you should rather be in Park Esler by all accounts.
Would I tell you? You see nowadays.
Go ahead, tell me. Yes, tell me.
It's not like the old days, Paul, where you had slopes and wee small fields and stuff like that. Basically, what you've got now is a rectangle, 140 by 80 or 90, and they're basically all the same. And I don't think it makes any difference where you play. The ground doesn't make any difference because they're all top class pitches that are available for playing in. So we don't mind. We really don't mind where we play.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Thanks for coming on, Dan. Yeah. Enjoyed the bit of crack, and I'll no doubt run into you over the weekend somewhere.
Not a bother.
We'll let you go with that. So all the best to you at the weekend, and we'll catch up maybe before the final if you're lucky enough to get there.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah.
All the best, Don. Bye.
Do you want my tip on? Do you want my tip on that game, Jarlath?
I do want your tip on that game.
Yeah, Leitrim. Yeah. I'm going to go with Leitrim.
Oh, you're going with Leitrim, right?
Yes, Leitrim Drumgal's final.
You're joining the winning team here.
Oh, well, use all Leitrim. Oh, well.
Oh, right. We're straight into the seniors then. The first game up is the 2 teams that are hoping to get to the first final, Ballyholland and Carryduff. That's, coming in under the radar, lads, because of the focus has all been on Warrenpoint and G.A.A. coming into this weekend. But how do you see this one going, Patsy? This is the makings of a good game.
Oh.
It certainly has, Jarlath. I was lucky enough to cover both them games on over the weekend, and I tell you what, as we said earlier at the top of the show, you have the big hitters, so to speak, and then you have what you would make class as the minnows. But I can tell you what, Carryduff or Ballyholland, in my eyes, are no minnows. They're in their first. Ballyholland were in the semi-final last year. Carryduff probably first time in the semi-final of the Senior Championship. It's a very hard one to call. I'm not going to sit in the fence here. I'm going to actually go on what I've seen. I've seen both teams, and if Carryduff can make the start that they made against or Brentford, even, I'm going to go for Carryduff here. I haven't went for Patsy Kearney, I'll tell you. I haven't tipped Ballyholland so far, so that might be a good omen for them. But I'm going to go with Carryduff, Jarlath, to reach their first ever senior final.
Okay, Paul Rooney.
Yes, a lot will depend on the man talked about. Patsy talked about earlier in the show, young Robbie White, if he's fit or not. I don't know if he's fit for a full game, but if he is, Carryduff will have the feel of it. And I'm going to make my prediction on this, Jarlath. I see it, the way I see this game is, you see if Carryduff get the wins in their seals the way they did against Brentford the other night, there'll be nobody stopping them. But Ballyholland will have a plan. Ballyholland have a plan to counteract that running football that they do play. They play a lot of running football. They play off the shoulder. They'll run and they'll also go for the throat, Jarlath. I love that in the team, and I love that. And fair play to them. They got their semi-final. They're in their first semi-final. They won the last 3 on the 21 championships and down. The players coming, I think, and they'll be main disappointed when we saying this.
Paul. I'm
Yes.
going to stop you there, right? I'm going to stop
Yes.
you there, because before you give me your prediction, I don't want you to fall out with Paul McConville in case you go with the wrong prediction. But if
No,
Paul
McConville's on the phone, is he?
On the line. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing well, very well, thank you, man. How you all doing?
Brilliant, Brian. It's first of all, on my own behalf, congratulations for getting this far in the senior championship. You'll not want to be ending the journey at this stage, I would imagine. But you're coming off the back of an incredible win there against Bransford in the last round. And next up for you, of course, is Ballyholland, both looking to get to your first senior final. I have Paul Rooney and Patsy Russell on the line, and I'm going to let Paul Rooney speak to you first, Paul.
Paul, how you doing? Paul here. Enjoyed the match last week, and I was just, before they got you on the line there, I was just about to do prediction, but I'll hold that till we're finished. But you were a joy to watch last Monday night in Newry. I enjoyed everything about you. Can you bring that game back to Park Esther on Sunday and deal the same kind of deal to Ballyholland as you've done with Bransford?
I don't know about doing the Ballyholland what we did to Bransford, but certainly I would be hopeful that we can bring that game back. The team got off to a poor start against Hilltown, but they learned from that and found that hitting from the goal from the start, getting involved in the game from the start, is what's required at this level. And our boys did it against Bransford. They played with an intensity. They lifted that since the Longstone game, and certainly I know they're putting in a lot of hard work, a lot of preparation. So hopefully we'll bring our wares to Ballyholland.
I mentioned I was doing a wee bit of a rundown on it there, and I mentioned my two men that stood out for me was your number 2, Lorcan, and your number 13. I think, what do you call him in the game last week? Rory Anderson and Lorcan from number 2 were my 2 best players on the night, and everybody's talking about the Beatties and the Genesis and this, but for me, them's 2 great players, Paul, and my whole look at the thing is a great panel all together, and on any given day, it seems to be some different players coming to the fore.
Well, down here, there's a lot of talk about team effort. With a lot of lads that are committed, have come up through our juvenile ranks, and yeah, with 2 injuries there, we had Shamie McCann and John Kelly picked up injuries in the Longstone game. But young lads like Lorcan Toll, Roy Anderson, they're boys coming in there. There's a real hunger amongst our young men here to play at the top level. And we've been working hard through the club. We've achieved at under 21 level, and those boys' ambition is to bring their brand of football through the senior level, 20 down.
Maybe Patsy has a question or two for you, Paul. I'll pass you over to Patsy.
How you doing, Patsy?
First of all, Paul, not so bad, Paul. First of all, congratulations. A senior wee interview at half-time with Shauna. I was commentating the game. It was a magnificent performance. We're good friends with your manager there, DJ Morgan, and we talk a lot about football quite a lot of the time. But what impressed me was the youthness of this team. I think the average age is 23. I think these are 2 players that are 24, and I would say these are probably one of the youngest teams ever to appear in a senior semi-final. Paul, would that be correct?
I think we are. I need to go back over the history books, and certainly we've invested a lot in our youth. We live with a Moyle Noga, because Championship praise youth, they will develop. But I know there's been some comments made that carried up. We're not trading on the fact that we have a young team. We aspire to trade on the fact that we have footballers, and they're young, they're learning, but they're learning fast. And we're seeing the fruits of that coming onto the pitch. We're not complacent. We don't take anything for granted. It's a very high expectation of those lads going against Ballyholland, who will be as hungry as we are for a place in the senior championship final, and they know the tradition of Kilcoo and Warrenpoint, but certainly we want to be up there and we want to be playing our wares at that top level.
I suppose, Paul, you couldn't believe the first half you had last Monday evening. 3 goals in that first half, and it was amazing. And your goalkeeper, I think it was 1-4 to 4 points at the time, Mark Hines, made a brilliant save from Patrick Sheridan. And I always say every game has a turning point, and I think that was the turning point for you, because he's went up the field and hit 2 goals in a point in quick succession, Paul.
That's right, and it's good to see that from Mark, because that does a lot for a lad's confidence. You could see in the game he was coming out, he was claiming ball, he was in under high ball in the second half, brewing confidence. And when you have a defence that was playing as resolutely as ours was, then that's good to see, with a lot of forward movement, with boys working very, very hard for each other. And I did comment at half time, on one occasion, the entire 30 players on the pitch were in the carried up defence, and Brentford were working very, very hard to find a way through. But our boys dug in, they worked man to man, and when they broke Brentford down, they went at them. So, those goals, they weren't fluke, they were well worked. And I did comment too, it was great to see young Joseph Tunney never took his eye off the ball, and the flick that he gives to the net was something you'd love to see in Croke Park.
Well, right, Paul, all I can do is just wish you all the best Sunday.
Yeah, Paul, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul.
Thanks very much for coming on. The very best wishes to you on Sunday, and no doubt you'll be coming down to Newry, and expecting to go back down the A1 with a final to look forward to. So thanks very much for that, Paul.
Thanks very much for your time and for your best wishes, man. Good luck.
Bye.
Aye.
Yeah.
There he's our lads. He's
back to my prediction, Jarlath. I was under prediction on that one.
Carried off's coming to Newry by with their tails up, I can tell you that.
Yeah, they will do too. And as I was in the middle of a prediction when you got that man on, and I'm telling you, I'm going to have to. I don't want to annoy Patsy Kearney, you know what I mean? So I'm going to think Ballyholland, because they were in this position last year and let themselves down. I think Justy will have them a bit more tuned in, a bit more prepared for this one. And I think Ballyholland to edge it slightly. Kerry Duff coming back strong. They will be in senior finals in the not too distant future, but I think it's just a wee bit early for them, Jarlath. I'm going with Ballyholland. There you are.
Well, I tell you this here, for one of the other hats that I wear, life will not be worth living if I bypass Ballyholland. Right?
Yeah, you have a nephew playing, haven't you?
Well, no, I have relations playing, but I have a lot of friends up there, and I'm required to go up there now and again to knock doors and see how everything.
You have no friends in Carryduff, no.
Right. Well,
you have no friends in Carryduff.
I have it right, but anyway, listen, I'm going with Ballyholland. Okay.
Right. Lovely.
I hope I haven't upset Patsy Kearney now by doing that, but Patsy will soon let us know. Right, let's move on. Sunday night, the last game we're going to talk about this weekend. Damien McCullough touched on it there. He says you should have done something there that potentially these two teams lined up for the final. We can't be disrespectful to the other two semi-finalists, but C.P.N, Warrenpoint come out of the draw against Kilcoo. Patsy, take it away. What's your take on that?
Well, Paul, you probably know what I'm going to tell you here, but I predicted earlier on when they met that C.P.N, or sorry, I'm not going to call them that. Don't like them called that. That's St. Peter's, Warrenpoint, or Cumin Petter Nipa. I predicted that they would beat Kilcoo in a closely contested affair. Now, even though they won on a penalty shootout, I have to say I was a bit disappointed with Warrenpoint. For a team that has beat Bourne and Kilcoo, who won the last 11 championships, they struggled for long periods against Clonduff. As I say, the introduction of John Boyle gave them a new lease of life, and I'm sure I would love to see Warrenpoint get to the final again. But That's what my heart says. I would love to see it. But my head says the Magpies are what I would call a lean, mean machine. They're well drilled. They don't panic. It's going to be a cracking game. There'll be literally thousands of people want to see this game, and they will see it on Park TV. It's going to be a cracker. But I have to go with the Magpies here, Jarlath, to win. It wouldn't surprise me if this one goes to extra time again, because the last two times they've met, there was 1 point when Warrenpoint beat them. There was 1 point in the last year. So there's nothing between them. They had a league game there. I think Kilcoo won 2 or 3 points early on in the year. But from what I've seen from Kilcoo, especially
Have we lost you, Patsy?
last Sunday, I'm going to have to edge it. I know Barney McLean's a good friend of mine, son Niall is coaching the point. But sorry, did you lost me there?
No, you're back. You're back. Yeah.
Can you hear me, Charlie?
Yeah, I can, surely. Yes.
McLean, Barney will be disappointed with maybe going with Kilcoo. Some Niall there at the helm for Warrenpoint. But I'm only calling it as I see it, Jarlath. So Kilcoo by an hour margin.
Okay, right, Paul Rooney, come on, let's wrap her up here.
The big tie of the round, and I have a funny old feeling about this one, Jarlath. And you know what I'm going to say to you? People's going to laugh at me now, and like I'm here probably to be laughed at, anyhow. But in all honesty, right? And if we were sitting back now thinking about the whole championship again, Warrenpoint would have been safer putting out their seconds team in the first match in this here competition, because to take a beating at that stage, it wouldn't have been that bad of a blow to them. They would have had a couple of comfortable. You know, it's a novel thing to say at this stage after the battle they've been through, but probably it would have been more favourable, Jarlath, for Warrenpoint to lose that first knuckle duster against Kilcoo, because for a start of it put Kilcoo, you know, it put them into line a wee bit and put them, you know, concentrate their efforts back in football. They come back 20 times stronger. And I tell you what, I'd said it, and people are laughing at me saying it too. They played with a smile on their face last week, and it's not too often you see the Kilcoo men, and I hope to play with a smile on their face this weekend again. But my take on it is, I think the point would have been really better off throwing the sack at this stage now. When we've reached this part, they'd been better putting the seconds team out in that first game and taking the beating, because they've beat all the big teams now. They were in a dogfight with Kilcoo. They were in a dogfight with Clonduff last week. They've been through three. They dealt with Bourne handy enough. We discussed that one earlier on, but like they've been through a couple of queer matches, Jarlath, and like John Boyle, right? We also found out last week, through no fault of our own, that without John Boyle, they're far from the finished article. And I can tell you what, Kilcoo have plans for John Boyle, you know what I mean? And that's for certain. Conor Gilligan and these boys, and Paul Devlin and these boys, they're not soft. And Mickey Morans and these boys, and like, I don't know, I'm hating the thought of going against the point, and you know, all they've done so far, but I can't see, from what I seen last week, Jonathan, on field, with your own club, I can't see the point being able to weather the storm of these boys. And if John Boyle's not fit, it's an even bigger problem for them, because he is a phenomenal player. He settled them down. All the young fellas seen him on the field. They all settled. They all played their game good enough. And I'll say it again, they got a few handy frees to keep them in it again, the Clonduff. But I can't see Kilcoo succumbing to them at this stage. And I can see Kilcoo running out 4 or 5 point winners, Jarlath.
Okay, Paul.
Sorry to any man from St. Peter's and Warrenpoint, but that's my take on it. And I'm here to give my opinion, and I'm giving it, Jarlath.
Fair enough, Paul, and your opinion is very valid and very well put. Listen, there's no doubt about that. I have great admiration for Kilcoo when they are on their game. There's very few teams on the island would actually probably be on the same level as them. But I've been saying it all year, and I'm going to say it again. It would be an absolute travesty for Warrenpoint to do what they've done in this championship this far and not take the Frank O'Hare Cup home. So I'm having to stick with my neighbours, lads, on this one. I know they've had a few sort of bumps in the road over the past couple of games, but they've still come out on top. we touched on it earlier on. Leicester teams would have been dead and buried against Clonduff last weekend, considering the start that they had. And they didn't. They chipped away and they fought their way back into that game and came out on top in the end. So I suppose that's the beauty of this system that we had in the earlier rounds, that you were entitled to an off day. Warrenpoint's off day was possibly last week, and they still get over the line. So I ain't gonna go against you in this one. I'm going with Warrenpoint, lads. So, but I think we're all in agreement. We hope it's a good, entertaining spectacle, because as Patsy has touched on it there, no doubt they'll be looking in from far and wide. Patsy, you're commentating on that game, are you?
We haven't got a roadie yet, Jarlath, so I don't know. I would love to be.
I'd say he will be. He will be. Yeah, he will be. Yeah, I'd say he will. Yeah.
Fair enough. Oh, there you are. The director's spoken, Patsy.
No, I'm no director. But I'd say he will. Like, you know. But we're in the wind-up stage now, Jarlath, and I'm going to give you a quick wind-up on my weekly summation of it all. And I'll have to say it again, and I have to congratulate the county board on the format that they come up with in this championship. It's absolutely brilliant. You can't breathe till there's another match down your throat. You have no time to think about the match that just went past. It's coming at you that fast. And also, Jarlath, it's unearthing some superb talent that we are bringing up in this show. We're highlighting them, and we hope that the county management is sitting there watching them too. There's players out there, Jarlath, as me, you and Patsy both know, or the three of us know, that could walk onto the county panel, and they've showed themselves time and time again. They're not just coming in one matches, and like again, we'll go back to the big Kilcoo thing, and Kilcoo got the wound in the Warrenpoint match, and I tell you what, I don't think they'll be wounded again, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward probably more till the Ballyhone carried up to see how they weigh each other up. I'd love to see them going at it and going hammer and tongue, and none of that old messing about, because this championship doesn't allow for that old messing about. You know, that sitting behind the ball, weighing up this and weighing up that. This championship allows you to go and express yourself, go and do what you have to do. Forget about, marking up. Go man and man. Go for the game. Go for the throat. And like, well, you'll not be found at the end of it. Nobody'd be saying, I wish they had it done. I wish they had it done that. Go for it from the start, boys, and you never know what would happen to you. And as Kilcoo showed us last week, they knocked up 2-17. I keep saying it. Let them at it. They'll score for fun, Jarlath. And as I say it every week, it's been the most relaxing hour of the week for me. Enjoy every minute with us, boys, and I hope the folks out there enjoy it. And I hope that, and if Drumgas do get to the final, there'll be a sale on chandeliers and G.A.As. They'll be doing discount on chandeliers and G.A.As. All get yourselves down there and get a new chandelier piece.
See, there you are now. There's product placement, Cahill. He's at it already. It took him an hour and a half, but he got the advert in. I wonder. I wonder how much he get paid for that. Anyway, listen, before we go, I just want to say a quick hello to Maureen Fagan in Upper Knockbarra. Maureen's watching the show, and she sent in best wishes there. So, Maureen, good to know you're watching it, and it's good to know you're enjoying it. Go ahead, Patsy.
Just before we wind up, Jarlath, as I say, I would like to wish all teams participating in the semi-finals this weekend all the best. To me, I've been covering championships for many years, and I don't think I've ever seen one like this. You know, there's been so much happen, so much dramatic finishes. You know, with that penalty shootout, we've had massive comebacks. You know, with great exhilaration. You did, yes. The scoring goals, my scoring goals, and Newry is absolutely finished. There was 9 goals scored, Jarlath, in the 3 games in the Drumlane Road end of the ground. Clonduff got 3, Kerryduff got 3, Kilcoo got 2, and Rostrevor got 1. So there's a wee interesting fact for you folks. And as I say, the man that's putting this show together, we can't forget him, Cahill McCoy. As you know, Cahill, I've done many games for Cahill in the past when we were at DestinationNewry, and down folks just love that. And it's great to see something like this on air for people. You know, fair enough. It's a bit of crack. We give our opinions as we see it. Some people mightn't like it, but sure, as I said before to you, Jarlath, if we all had the same opinion, wouldn't it be a boring old world? And we're looking forward to these mouth-watering clashes. And as I say, the down folk are in for it. Not only the down folk, there's a lot of people watching us. There's people in Cavan, I can tell you, in Monaghan, in Tyrone. They're watching us from all over and all over the world, Jarlath. So good luck to all the teams this weekend.
Well, Patsy, do you know what? There's nothing I have to add to that. So until next week, bye-bye to everybody. Join us next Wednesday night for the pre-final show. And lads, have a good weekend. Enjoy the games. I'm certainly looking forward to them myself. Bye-bye.
Good luck, Jarlath. Bye, Paul.
Damien, you are a legend, and I want you to keep up the great work that you're doing at the moment for Destination Newry. And this destination is beautiful, and everybody should come to Newry because I love this place. See you soon.
Yeah.
A big shout out to Destination Newry and all the people in the surrounding areas. Hope you're all keeping well. Stay at home and watch us instead.